Welcome back, everyone. It is Friday night. We are here at Matt Goes to the Movies talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 The Secret of the Ooze. Last week, we went back and rewatched a childhood favorite, the original live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out in 1990. That was like so good to go back to. Such a great movie. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was very well done. And with the success of that movie, this was greenlit immediately. It came out a year later. And unfortunately for me, this does not hold up as well as the original. Not by a long, like, not even close in some cases. There's some fun to be had here. But watching it as an adult and just kind of looking at things from a filmmaking perspective, there's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of errors here. Rob, how did you feel coming back to this?
So it was a lot of fun watching the first one again. I kind of remember, and I think we talked about this when we started, that the first one is probably the better movie. The second one maybe is a little more fun. And rewatching it this time, I can definitely confirm the first one is a much better movie, much better executed overall. This one has its moments for sure. Certainly, Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go is permanently burned into the brains of everybody who grew up in the 80s into the 90s. That's always going to hold a special place in all of our hearts, as it were. But and while there are parts of this that are fun, holy cow, does the nostalgia shield my memories from the parts of this that actually really don't work that well. There are definitely whole sections of this movie that do not hold up. Again, it's still, when you boil it down to the premise of it's the four turtles kind of screwing around, kind of having a little bit of fun while they're saving the day. Like, those parts still work. And really it kind of shows, like, when you think about how much bad Ninja Turtles content is out there, but yet it's still somehow good enough to be consumed. I think it just shows you how much we love these characters, that even in kind of a bad movie, there's still parts of it that are fun.
Yeah, there is some fun to be had here. Filmmaking wise, though, there's just some major errors in this film, I feel. And one of them is I'm a little confused because this movie is number one. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, and listeners, throw in the comments if I'm way off here based on the research that I did. But this basically is kind of like right after the first one. It's not like Shredder's been gone for a year or 6 months or, recovering from his death. And he jumped in the Lazarus pit. This immediately picks up right after the first one, and it doesn't even seem to follow its own continuity at times. Number one, um, where did April get an apartment? Like, I'm a little confused by that because I thought her building burned down, unless the station sure gave her like a house to live in.
She moved in pretty quick.
Right? Like, she's in. Number two, um, they make mention that, like, oh, like the Foot was arrested, but it seems like there's not a lot of the Foot Clan left until they need them to be a lot of the Foot Clan. In certain scenes where they do nothing. And the first movie, I thought, did a good job of disguising some of this. But man,
Yes.
this movie, the camera just loves to show you people standing around doing jack shit except for moving their arms. And even the turtles in the one scene where they go to grab the ooze, Michelangelo, you can see him is just standing there doing like the same motion repeatedly. Even the guys in the back of the Foot Clan like are just standing there like waving batons around. some of these scenes are a mess. And watching it as an adult, I question why you would film that.
There's some very bad decisions that are made here that are made. The decisions are so poor and the execution of them so poor. It's almost like contempt for the audience, where it's just like, it's just a bunch of dumb kids watching this. We don't actually have to try to make this good. And it's hard not to see that at different points. Like, even just like Shredder coming back, and you're right. I do believe this is intended to be picked up right at the end of the first movie. Um, why are his bones not dust? Like, is that little purple shirt he was wearing? Is that like vibranium? Like, what is that? Like, how he comes out of that with, like, we see his helmet get squished, like we see it, and he
Right.
pops out and he's got a few cuts on his face, and that's all the more he's got to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say he looks great. Like, his new outfit's kind of badass with like the garbage helmet, like where he found a purple shirt, he just had one hanging in his closet. But like,
Well,
I
that one was at
like
the
his
dry
new,
cleaners. He just went and picked it up.
yeah, I like his new look. He somehow managed to keep the same cape though. I never noticed that until today. When I
Yes.
rewatched this, he still has the same cape somehow. But he didn't have it in the final fight in the first one, so that was left behind. But yeah, the Foot Clan. I don't know. I don't know what this movie's supposed to be sometimes, and I don't think the movie does either. I know there was backlash because parents thought the first movie was a little too violent, so it's definitely toned down. Um, their weapons are pretty much holstered for 95% of the movie, but yeah, there's things about this that I don't understand what they're trying to go with. Um, Even with the ooze, like Rob, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just watched this thing, man. Professor Jordan Perry, who I actually like. I like this guy in this movie. I think he's whatever.
Yeah.
It's not a great role, but like what he's got like so a doofus charm to him. I like this character. Doesn't he literally grab the container of ooze and go, "Well, you're the last one." Then Tatsu grabs it. They use it to make Tokka and Rahzar, who are clearly supposed to be Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah, why did we not just get Bebop and Rocksteady? I never understood that about this.
Because the director said they were dumb.
Oh, well, I mean, I can understand that. Yes, he definitely made a better decision there.
But then how does Shredder have another whole canister of ooze?
A
I
full
don't.
one.
What did he use to make Tokka and Rahzar? I don't.
Yeah,
I
there's a
don't get it.
lot of. So I have a couple thoughts on just Ooze related stuff. Going back just a little bit further. So they do the news story where TGRI is talking about, like, their cleanup process and everything. And Shredder is like meditating, or not Shredder, Splinter is meditating on the roof while that story is on the air. And then he calls them up there and he just pulls the broken canister out of his robe. Does he literally just walk around with that all the time? Like, I've always wondered this, even as a kid. Like, the story was airing literally right then, and he just kind of like pulls it out of there. Like, is he just always keep that around? Is it kind of like an Animaniacs where like everything you ever need is just right behind your back, and it's like this magic closet you can pull anything out of that you need? I always
He
thought that
might have
part was weird.
keistered it. Like,
He
who
kept it in
knows?
his prison
Like,
wallet. Yeah,
yeah,
that's where
like,
he had it. The
who
other
knows? But go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the other thing that I just couldn't help but figure out, dude's memory of an inventory error from 15 years ago is remarkably good. Like, oh yeah, there was one canister we never accounted for. Like, it was 15 years ago and he remembered an inventory error from that long ago with a company that size. Like, get the hell out of here.
I guess too, like, what, and maybe I missed this, but what is the point for them cleaning it up now? Like, I don't understand. Oh, we buried all the canisters. Were they saying that now they're just seeing the results of the canisters being buried and it's like, where did the contamination come from? What it like? it just seems like an odd MacGuffin that TGRI is there cleaning up waste that, again, maybe I missed something, but doesn't seem to actually really have any kind of effect. And I'm sorry, in 15 years, like, those dandelions just grew. Like, I don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where, like, remember Captain Planet was really big around this time. I think it was probably one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, they're doing a good environmental thing, and we were just supposed to kind of go with it. I think.
Yeah, like, it seems like it could have been, um, like, it could have been part of the movie where, like, the turtles get discovered, or so, you know, when it, like, something happens that TGRI now has to actually go back to try and clean this up. And I know he mentions it later in the movie, where he's like, oh, they're probably trying to dispose of records and things like that when a mishap occurs. Like, I get it, but again, just like that original involvement and why they're there, um, a little odd. I just don't know where that comes from. I will say, though, I do like the fact that, the banter's back. I think the four brothers are very good together again. The relationship with Splinter, I think, is very good. Um, you know, I don't know why. I couldn't find anything as to why Casey Jones is not in this movie. Whether it's contract, they wanted, because it's a kids movie and they wanted maybe somebody who, Kino, that could be like, oh, like, he takes karate, I could take karate. Not saying that I don't like him, but like, he's not a replacement for Casey Jones. I just, there are some, like we've talked about, there's some definite decisions in this movie where you could tell, they made it more kid friendly. um and I think it actually, I think it hurts this movie more so than the serious tone of the first one, where that surprisingly helped it.
And it made some of the comedic aspects of the first movie work that much better because it actually felt grounded in some kind of reality. Whereas, like with this one of the first notes I wrote down was just that the opening fight scene was still super fun. And I I wrote down as well, my nostalgia may be preventing me from seeing some of the flaws in this part. Still great comedy combat. The turtles still suck at not being seen. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if I were having just rewatched this a few days ago, if I were to watch this again now, already knowing how I feel about it in 2025 comparing to how I felt about it, the last time I watched this movie, which is probably literally could have been in the late 90s or early 2000s for all I remember, uh, I probably would have disliked this opening scene. And it I think with the decision to go with, okay, we're going to make Kino kind of one of their other, human allies as opposed to Casey Jones. He definitely is a more lighthearted character than Casey. Although Casey's flexible enough as a character, the way he's been written at different times, where he can carry some of the lightness and some of the humor. In fact, he did plenty in the first film. I guess just to try to make it I was actually talking about this with my brother Eric, and he kind of compared this to some of the campiness we get in Batman and Robin, which I sort of see where he's coming from, but at the same time, like, I think that's goofy for the sake of being goofy, and this is like goofy but doesn't always work as well at times. Does that kind of make sense? Am I explaining that well?
I would say, like, I get what you're saying. I would say, for a comparison, I would say this is more Batman Forever, where it didn't
Yeah.
completely jump the shark. Um, and then they just went, oh, well, people liked some of the lighthearted tone of Batman Forever and the goofiness. Let's just ramp it up, um, to 100%. And I
Yeah.
don't think this movie quite goes to that level. Um, but again, like, I just, you don't, and not that the battle was long in the first movie, but you don't even get a fight with Shredder. And the, like,
Mm.
again, Kino kicks the canister out of his hand, and then he's crushed by debris. You don't even get a fight with Shredder here.
Or super, I mean, like, especially super shredder. So I'm going to go ahead and
Right.
get into this part right now. I have questions. Why does the ooze mutate his metal spikes and helmet too? I didn't understand that. I never understood that as a kid, and I still don't understand it today. But apparently, the ooze also makes his helmet get bigger and the spikes get spikier because reasons.
Well,
So we're
because
watching
it
this.
has dangerous mutagenic properties.
Yes, that works on steel.
And
Everybody knows
spikes are
that.
dangerous.
Exactly. Makes perfect sense. So we're watching this and I kind of forgot, like, I do remember, like, as a kid, like him falling into the water, but like I kind of forgot how the ending worked. And for those of you who are listening to this and have not seen this in a while, I'll describe what happens. So Shredder dumps all the use on himself, drinks it, whatever he does. He mutates into Super Shredder and he's scary looking. I mean, it's just like, oh wow, how are our heroes going to get through this? And then all of a sudden, he just starts punching the piers down, like the posts holding up the dock. He just starts like slamming them, trying to, I don't know, drop debris on the turtles instead of like go super shredder on them and go hand to hand combat and mess them up. Like that could have been really compelling and cool. And as he's just knocking down all of the supports of this pier, he just brings everything down on top of himself and then just drowns and dies that way. And I was like, "Oh my god, this was literally terrible. This was absolutely terrible." And I wrote down, this is a direct quote from my son Wes, who was watching this with me. Well, that was anticlimactic. And he's 12, which is exactly how old I would have been when this movie came out, I think. And somehow I gave it a pass, but I don't know, kids these days are just smarter or just have better expectations because he was like honestly pissed at how bad the ending was of this and how we don't get to see, you know, a steroided up super shredder fighting the Ninja Turtles as a team because they really didn't even, I mean, there's just that little bit of the rooftop battle, and you could even call that in the first one a little bit anticlimactic because he just charges Splinter. Splinter grabs the nunchucks and wraps it and chucks him. It's like kind of a almost a little bit anticlimactic in that way too. But Super Shredder is literally on screen for like 20 seconds just to drown in a dock collapse. And it occurs to me like, how does this even happen? Did they literally, the only thing that makes sense to me, did they just run out of money the day they went to shoot this? It was just like, all right, guys, we're like 3 weeks overdue, like we're way over budget.
Right.
We just got to wrap this thing up. So instead of like this big choreographed thing, Shredder's just gonna knock the pier down. He's just gonna drown, and we're all gonna go home, and we're gonna get this to the theaters because Pizza Hut has a deal with us, and we have a timeline to hit.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, I was so confused by that. Um, I do like the funny thing is I do like the Tokka and Rahzar stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually hate them. Again, like it's clearly meant to be Bebop and Rocksteady, but I don't mind them actually at all. I think they're kind of like fun in their own, in their own way. I do I'm sorry, like just the sake of like scenes for scenes when they go out and they start knocking down telephone poles and things like that. There there's one couple that's randomly out getting a cab. Nobody else sees that, but I still, for whatever reason, like I chuckled at that scene. Like, what do we do if they come over here? And she's like, let them get their own cab. Like, it was funny. It worked for
Yeah,
me, but it's just like that's the only couple that's there. Like, again, what are we filming? What is happening?
yeah, I agree with you. Like when you just kind of look at like, okay, this the whole premise of this is just silly, right? Like this is kind of nonsense. I mean, again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Four words that on their own like mean something, but when you put them together, it really shouldn't make sense. But somehow, through all kinds of different magic, has become this property that we do love. But you can't really take it too seriously at times. Like, so yeah, Tokar and Rahzar are being a little goofy, especially the parts where they call Shredder Mama. Like that's actually funny to me. Like that part is kind of
Yeah.
funny. I like those bits. Um, What I don't like, though, what I don't like, traditional pre-fight donut. Seriously, like, how did I stand for this shit as a kid? So again, if you haven't seen this in a while, they have this concoction that the professor helps them make in their subway lair, where they're going to try to like shove this stuff in, make them eat this stuff that's going to de-evolve them or demutate them, I guess, back to their original state. So they cram it in. Their plan is they're going to cram it into these donuts and make them eat the donut, and they're going to call this a traditional pre-fight donut, and they're going to share these things together. And somehow, and it had to have been like a cocaine filled writer's room where they came up with this. Like, what, like, this was the best they could come up with. Like, really? I And they're surrounded, and you mentioned it earlier, like the Foot have all been like arrested for the most part until we need them to do literally nothing. They're background dressing here. They come out of nowhere. They fill the entire like 3 floors of this construction site, and then they proceed to just kind of like, you know what they are? They're like in Wii Sports, like the background characters that just jump up in the air and do that. That's what they are. The Foot Clan are literally
Yeah.
the characters from Wii Sports. That's what they're there for. Like, instead of everybody dogpiling and just ending the turtles and like making this problem for Shredder go away, he's going to send out his 2 mutants, and everybody else is just there to cheer them on, I guess. Like, it's, that whole bit is honestly terrible. And if I'm being honest, like, I kind of like that first fight a little bit. I'm sure if I watch it again, I would probably hate it, though. It actually just gets worse. Like, the TGRI
Mm-hmm.
lab fight is really bad. There is an ungodly amount of guys just standing around waiting. The junkyard fight is pretty bad too. The second junkyard fight is maybe worse. Like, how do I not remember how bad this was? Like, there were so many parts of this that were just completely phoned in. And it's kind of sad because it's like, I don't remember this being this bad.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of phoned in things. And even the ending fight. You know, you see all of those Foot Clan members before, and then they take out what, 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and then they're gone. Like, what happened to all of the ones that are in the warehouse? And like, even filmmaking perspective, where does like how does Shredder get behind that speaker? Like, there's no spot in that whatever club, whatever you want to call it, for him to just enter from behind that speaker and push it over. Like, he would have had to have walked by people who, I'm sorry, are way too fucking casual for 2 giant creatures running in, then turtles, then guys in ninja outfits. But then when Shredder walks in, do you notice how, like, while they're fighting, everybody's like, yeah, and they're doing the song and everything, which, again, like, yes, everybody knows that song. It's hysterical. But from a filmmaking standpoint, how does he know that they're Ninja Turtles? How does he know that there's a villain? Like, you listen to the lyrics of the song, and I'm like, I couldn't help but go, he would never make this song on the spot. Nobody knows what the hell these things are.
I mean, not only do they have the song, like, just he freestyles it, but his hype man already knows the words he's going to say that they're going to repeat at the end of the bar. It's
Yes.
and the choreography is all the same. Like, the band knows what to play and when to play it, and the choreography just hits all together. The crazy thing is, like, if it wasn't for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, 12 people on the planet would know what ninjutsu is. Like, the only
Right.
reason anybody that ninjas even exist in pop culture is because of Ninja Turtles. Like, that's the entire reason. So yeah, sure, it makes sense that Rob Van Winkle would be up there on stage rapping about ninjas and turtles, because that's clearly what they are.
Yeah, but like, yeah, though that crowd is just, they're so casual. Like, so casual about what's going on that I'm just like, again, the turtles at this point are not known. Like,
But they
they're
kind of should
not
be for the crappy job they do hiding
right.
themselves.
Um but and then even after, like when they get done, when Shredder gets blown out of the window, if you go and look,
By a
it's
speaker, by the
so
way. We
like
got
yeah,
we got to make sure we cover that. Yeah, they just play a guitar note really loud, and Shredder gets launched like he's in a trebuchet, and probably
right.
goes like, I don't know, 300 yards.
Yeah, which again though, based on the filming, how does he get knocked out of the window? Because he's still standing up against a wall. He's not. If you really watch how that's filmed, he's not on that side with the window at all. So,
Yeah.
but and then when they go to run out and go find where Shredder is, literally, you can see people like extras in the background. There's a group of people that are acting like they just met up at the club. Like like they're introducing their friends to another set of friends. Like no care that something just happened. Also, like this goddamn snapping turtle and fucking wolf are still just here.
No explanation. They're just there.
Like they're just sitting there. Like it's just it's such a random movie going back and watching it now that I'm glad I am glad that we did this, but yeah, I had and you know what? The funny thing is I still watch this. The last time I saw this, I was an adult. Like I wasn't a teenager or anything like that. Like I know the last time I watched this, I was an adult, but I think it had been so long since I watched the first one that I still had kind of like, oh, this is just a fun movie kind of glasses on. And watching it so close to the first one, just going, this is actually a really big downgrade. Um, to me at least, watching these so close together, this just feels like a major downgrade compared to the last time that I had watched this just kind of on its own.
I really kind of feel bad for like younger Gen Xers and millennials that would have grown up with this movie that maybe haven't seen it in a while, might be listening to this. I kind of almost feel like me, like I kind of feel like the two of us explaining to them that this movie actually is really bad is almost like them finding out that Santa Claus isn't real for the second time. Like it's kind of like that same thing. Like I was really sitting on my couch and I was like really bummed out at like I thought this was really good. I really liked this movie. I really was like this was a big part of my childhood because again, growing up like we didn't like streaming wasn't a thing. Like you could go rent a VHS tape, but you had to like drive into town to get it. And you could only get like two at a time sometimes. So like you kind of watched what you had. And I've seen this movie dozens of times. And at no point in those dozens of times that I watched it did it occur to me that it was actually crap.
You know, I have to say, I really actually don't think I like this movie overall. Um, I
Yeah.
just have to say I don't like it. There was a couple of things here and there that I just I kind of chuckled and whatnot, but yeah, from start to finish, this and here's the real big final thing that I will like really say is when this was on, I was not focused because I was getting torn out of the movie. When the first
Mm,
one was on, I was focused. And
yeah.
this one just did not keep this one did not keep my interest like the first one did.
I think this is like a reverse Watchmen, right? Where we kind of had it in
Yeah.
our heads that Watchmen and also the second Matrix movie were kind of bad. And then watching them again, it's kind of like, oh, actually, no, I think I didn't give that movie enough credit. And now it's kind of like, oh yeah, that movie was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then kind of come out of it and it's like, oh man, why did I do that to myself? Now I know this isn't any good.
Yeah, I truly feel this again. Like I said, this is a step back. I mean, this was still a very, very successful movie. It made less money than the first one, but it still managed to be the second highest independent made film of that generation. Behind the first Turtles, spawned tons of toys, video games. Um, I mean, good lord, it expanded to stage and they did like a musical, which was horrendous. But man, like again, insanely popular. You know, popular enough to warrant the third one, which came out 2 years from this. And then that essentially kind of just ended the franchise. Um, but yeah, a very disappointing second effort. Um, I feel.
Do you want to do the third one or not?
I almost feel like I had no intention of doing the third one because I wanted to remember this series with the first and the second one. But I feel like the second one, I, I want, Rob, here's what I'll say. I want to do the third one to see if it's as bad as I remember,
Mm,
or if 2 and 3 are essentially just the same movie. After
yeah,
watching 2 again, is 3 actually any worse than 2?
I'm in.
So I think that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to finish this and go with the third one because I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say the third one is there's no way the third one is worse than the second one. I think
And
at the end of this, we're gonna say, yeah, they're both kind of the same.
because the thing is, I remember as a kid watching the third one again dozens and dozens of times, but like even then, I
Yep.
kind of knew like, oh, it's not actually good. But hey, it's it's the turtles. Like, and I had a statistic that I didn't get a chance to share um, when we talked about the first one. Um,
Yeah.
and what was interesting was the number of intellectual properties that got made and how like okay, found it finally. um when you look in the 1980s, original film, so brand new IP, was like 72% of what was being made, as opposed to licensed IP, which made up like 28%. So when you think about it, like for us growing up in the 80s and 90s, being able to see an adapted version of something we already loved was not something, was just a guarantee. And like in today's modern day and age, everything gets adapted as soon as anything becomes popular. Look at something like the Hunger Games, like this massive, massive book that just blew up like crazy. This whole series, things like you can think of other book adaptations, like obviously Harry Potter is one of the biggest ones most recently, but even things like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey, these books that just everybody, not everybody, I didn't read those, but a lot of people were reading, of course, are going to get adapted. Like everything is going to get adapted. But in today, so the statistic I have is between 2015 and 2023, existing IP was 63% of the films that were being made, while original intellectual property was only 37%. So it's kind of like, it's hard to describe to anybody who wasn't there what the feeling was of getting a Ninja Turtles movie. Like, but that just wasn't
Right.
something that was guaranteed to happen. Now it's like, you think about the franchises that are huge. Again, Harry Potter's done a million films and prequels. Star Wars, Hunger Games now is on their prequels. Um, MCU, whatever's going on with DC, like all of the things that seem to dominate pop culture are in a lot of cases adapted IP. So to go back and just imagine how massive this was for us is really hard to try to describe if you weren't there.
Yeah, no, again, like huge, huge, huge cultural significance in media with these. Some other facts about this movie. very, very rushed production. And again, just the reason I just remembered that I had this actually saved. One, Casey was taken out of this movie because he was seen by parents as a terrible role model, because he was literally was like, parents wrote in saying they don't want to see somebody using everyday sports equipment beating up thugs. It's a bad example for kids. His hockey mask was scary. Like, just this movie was greatly affected by parents actually being upset with the tone of the first one.
So instead of golf clubs and cricket bats, like, just use the katana. Sure, that's better.
Yeah, like, they literally had to take a lot of stuff out. One other thing, April was recast because the actress that played her in the first one actually like got herself fired. Because one, she actually openly complained about the direction of the film. She was another person who spoke out against the level of violence in the movie. So she definitely like was not a fan of it. Um, Shredder actually was not supposed to be in here. It was supposed to be Baxter Stockman, but they didn't know how to actually make fight scenes with the robots, so they brought Shredder back. He was not going to be in this movie.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of things that really just kind of got thrown together for this movie to be produced.
And as much as we kind of talked about, like, yeah, the live action stuff when it's actually live and not live action with like giant air quotes around it because it's all CG, there's definitely things that I will fully admit as somebody who typically prefers practical effects. Like go ahead and try to do Krang practically. Like, go ahead. Like, what? How are you going to make that work? Like, you could probably do it, I guess. And maybe honestly, that one's a bad example. But yeah, I think like Baxter Stockman, like, yeah, like how do you make that one really work? When he has to fly, like, I don't know. I think that one. I think there are certain ones that do get a little bit tricky, and I can see where I will definitely say there's times where CG is going to have to happen, and almost anything that happens in the MCU now, like you kind of need to be able to use modern special effects to make it work.
Yeah, no. So, we're gonna go to the third one. My prediction is, like I said, we're not going to be severely disappointed because we're both in agreement. The second one does not hold up like we thought. So we'll finish this off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which sometimes people will say Turtles in Time. But yeah, we'll see how that movie holds up and go from there.
We will make it happen. we will
Yes.
watch that so you, the listener, do not have to, because you probably don't want to.
You know what? I will say this. I know that we have watched worse than Turtles 3.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Until something sinks below the Super Mario Brothers movie, like I don't know what it will take to get worse than that.
Yeah. So, listen, great to be back doing this show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Everything that you will need to contact us, email, comments for videos, everything will be in our show description. Please click those links, send in your ideas, thoughts on these episodes. We're very happy to be back. Thank you for listening. We will catch you next time at Matt Goes to the Movies.